Number one whenever news breaks during your day.
And number one whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? Today's only Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. On the Monty Show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the hell you are. Hope you are fantastic. Make sure you find us wherever you get a podcast. The Monty Show is all you have to do. Just Google search The Monty Show. M-O-N-T-Y, The Monty Show is where you'll find us on podcast. You'll find us, obviously, on YouTube. And guess what? We're giving away this Xbox Series S. Frame rates of power and stuff. As soon as we get to 3,000, and we currently are crawling. I mean, we are, and when I say we are crawling, I mean we are crawling.
Okay.
You know, we actually aren't. We're at 2,548 subscribers here on YouTube, which is good. Hey, man, I'm all about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this thing.
Boss.
I'm all about that action, boss. So let's do this thing, and let's see what we can do when we get to 3,000. We'll give away this Xbox Series S, and then of course, all you have to do to win the Xbox Series S is take a photo that you're subscribed, tag us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and the same old thing, let's rock and roll. I am the Monty Show. He is SLC Supercar. So, interesting night in the NBA last night there, Jacob. Do you have an idea who the best team in the NBA is right now?
Not yet. I think it's really early. I think there are a lot of teams that aren't playing up to their true potential yet, especially on the defensive end. There's a lot of examples of teams who are working on things, getting better, so I think it's probably still pretty early. I can tell you the most exciting teams of the league are going to be the Bulls and the Hornets, mainly because of the Ball brothers. I think they're not the best players in the league, but damn if they're not fun to watch,
LaMelo Ball's just a bigger, stronger dude this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a team that should definitely be a playoff team. Everybody stays healthy, all things being equal. We totally get it. But by all accounts, and by most power rankings, the Utah Jazz are on top of pretty much everybody's rankings these days. And they have the Denver Nuggets coming in, who last night did not exactly scintillate, if you will, the masses by getting torched at home by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, not ideal. Not
no.
ideal.
And Jokic getting dunked on by Lauri Markkanen. And I mean, where do you when you look at the Denver Nuggets, like, is that the same team that we thought they would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're a good team. I think that they're also dealing with some things. Number one, you've got the Michael Porter Jr. situation with COVID and the vaccine. So some nights he can play, other nights he cannot. Number two, you've got Jamal Murray coming in off the injury, and I think that, anytime you have one of your best players coming off of an injury, that's going to change things. You got to see how that pans out. But then number three, again, I just think that a lot of these teams, have to come together a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of games that are just messy games. They're not well played games on the defensive end, the offensive end. Like, it's just not. Early season NBA basketball tends to be a bit messy. It tends to be a bit sloppy. So when I look at the Nuggets, I say, yeah, I mean, sure, your MVP got posterized last night, but that doesn't change the fact he's still the reigning MVP.
Yeah.
I think they just have to come together. And frankly, I know they're on a back-to-back tonight against the Jazz, and theoretically you would think the Jazz would win this game. But I don't think it's as far apart as it is on paper. I think that the Nuggets have something to prove. I think that the Nuggets definitely got embarrassed last night. No doubt about it. That is not a game that they should have lost. And I think the Jazz need to be ready for a big-time fight. I think the Nuggets are a team that, last year we went to that game where Bogey put up 50 against the Nuggets, and that was a game that they battled, even with Bogey doing what he was doing. So overall, I just think that the Nuggets are a good team. I look around the rest of the Western Conference. I really like what the Lakers are doing right now. Again, I still maintain that defense still needs to improve. Some nights they're getting great defense. Other nights it's a little mediocre. So I think consistency they need to improve on as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think, and I think one of the things that's so interesting about this Utah Jazz team right now is where they are defensively. I don't think this is a bad defensive Utah Jazz team, because certainly it is not, but it's not very good either. And the thing that scares you as you go into the depths of this schedule is whether or not this Jazz team can stand in front of guys on most days, and whether or not they can defend laterally, because it seems like that's going to be the challenge. And if I had to guess, that's going to be the fatal flaw in this Jazz team, onto whether or not they're going to be able to defend at a high level one-on-one. And maybe one-on-one is the wrong way to put it, but how much pressure are you going to put on Rudy Gobert to defend the rim when you can't keep guys out of the paint? And I think that is that one fatal flaw. And every team has one, right? When maybe you can't shoot, maybe you can't defend. I don't know. This Utah Jazz team is very good. But if they want to win a championship, they're really going to have to be better man defense. And it'll be interesting tonight to see, to your point, how are the Denver Nuggets going to bounce back from what is unquestionably an embarrassing performance last night?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to bounce back with a lot of energy. I think, again, when we always talk about teams who are on back-to-back, we think, well, they're going to be tired, or maybe they won't have as much gas in the tank. But frankly, it's early in the year. I wouldn't expect them to be that tired. I would expect them to be ready to go. And I think, the Jazz, the thing with the Jazz is, like, when they played the Kings, right? The Kings are a younger, really athletic team that can get the ball up and down the floor quickly, but they lack quality, right? They lack, winning ability in terms of the game. So, when you're watching the Jazz play the Kings, you're like, all right, Davion Mitchell, you've got De'Aaron Fox, you've got Buddy Hield. You've got a bunch of these guys who can really get after it in one-on-one matchups. And I think that was on full display. Now, kudos to the Jazz for going out and winning that game. Shows you the Jazz know how to close and win tight ball games.
Yeah.
But I just think that it really shows us that one-on-one defense is going to be interesting to see how they address it. I think the key areas of concern on the perimeter are Bogey. He's not a guy that's quick. He's not a guy that's got a great first step defensively. So that's going to be a guy that offenses are going to key in on, number one. Number two, I think the other thing that we got to talk about is the matchups and the way Quin goes about this rotation. I think we're still seeing him play a lot of guys and a lot of different secondary lineups. He ran one out there the other night that was like, I want to say he had like Oni, Conley, and Rudy on the floor together with Pascal, and I can't remember who the fifth guy was, but he's getting creative with these lineups. And what I'm getting at here, my point is that with him doing that, the defensive matchups will be really interesting. So tonight against the Nuggets, does he go more traditional? Does he go like with what we would expect? Or does he switch things up? That's something you got to watch for.
Well, I don't know. I would think you would see more Eric Pascal tonight, because I don't know that you have a real matchup for Aaron Gordon, right? I mean, if you think about that, if you think about the guard play even without Aaron Murray, I mean, you're still getting Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., Monte Morris. Like, you have all of these 2-3 combo guys. And really, if you look at Michael Porter Jr., a 3-4 combo guy, like, you have a lot of guys that play multiple positions. So they're not locked into one style. They're not locked into one way or the other of playing basketball, which I think is part of what the Jazz are. I think the Jazz are locked into playing kind of one style. If videos are going to autoplay.
Dude.
Videos are going to autoplay. It happens. But my point is, I just don't see a whole lot of flexibility built into the way that the Jazz can play. And this is a conversation I think we're going to wind up having pretty much all season. How flexible is Quin Snyder willing to be with his rotations? Because he's been pretty rigid. Historically, he doesn't like to play a lot of guys. And this year, I think he's playing a lot of guys. And don't forget about Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay is a guy that is out with this heel surgery. And there's not a real definitive timeline or a guesstimate at this point.
He was, there was a couple of updates from the folks who follow the Jazz every day. We all know the names on Twitter. Rudy Gay was doing some very light and easy post work yesterday. Nothing super hard contact or anything like that, but he is on the floor and he is moving well. The heel doesn't look like it's an issue for him right now, but there's a difference between practice and being able to go out there and run fives in a full game. So my feeling is he's probably still got a couple weeks, but I'm not a doctor, right? Just based on that video, it seems like there's still about 2 weeks left. So that's where Rudy Gay's at. But I think, this whole thing about Quinn and how many guys he's willing to play. Last year is very different than this year. Last year, I don't really feel like he had a lot of guys to play. I don't really feel like, the Onis of the world or the Azabukis or whoever you want to point to.
Well, Azabuki's no longer on the basketball team.
Yeah,
so
which is the other
relax.
thing. Yeah, the other thing that I love, they what do you call it in the league? They assigned him to the G League team or whatever. So it just is.
But Jake, he's a superstar.
Yeah, apparently.
Doke's a superstar. He is going to have a breakout year.
Right. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
He's no longer on the team. They assigned him to the Stars, by the way.
Okay, good. All right,
but I think it's one of those things where, like, to your point on Hassan Whiteside, I think Hassan Whiteside is showing you that he can play 20 minutes a night for you, and that you're not going to have a huge fall off. Again, I think he was much better in Game 2 than he was in Game 1 defensively, but you're not going to have some huge fall off from Rudy to Hassan Whiteside on the defensive end, and you're going to be better off offensively, with Hassan Whiteside on the floor. And those nights where Rudy just doesn't play very well, and those are going to happen from time to time, Hassan Whiteside's a nice injection into that lineup.
Well, look at it tonight. I mean, you've got a guy in Jokic tonight who is a really mobile big, a guy who is light on his feet, a guy who obviously can score the ball at will. And it kind of begs the question, like last year, this would have been a game that Rudy's going to have to play, pushing 40 minutes. I mean, that's just what it was last year. And I think this year that doesn't have to be the case. And I think that's a huge advantage for the Jazz. You can't tell me there weren't times last year where Rudy was tired. I mean, I just don't believe it. I mean, the guy played a ton of minutes. So like tonight, what I would love to see is from time to time getting Hassan out there against Jokic from time to time just to see what he can do, because Hassan, in my opinion, is a more mobile big than Rudy. Now, Rudy is a superior defender. Rudy is a much more intimidating presence there in the middle, but I think when you're playing a guy like Jokic, the value of mobility is high. I mean, you got to have a guy who can keep up with him. So I'll be just curious to see, what Quinn does in terms of when he takes Rudy out. Is he going to take him out with 10 minutes left in the first quarter? Is he going to push it and wait till 6 minutes left in the quarter? That's what I'm looking for. I want to know, is Mike Conley going to play, 10 out of 12 minutes in the first quarter? Or is Mike Conley only going to play like 8 or 9 minutes, and then we get the Jared Butler experience? That's what I want to see tonight, because I just think that this Nuggets team is uniquely set up to give many teams, not just the Jazz, but many teams problems matchup-wise. Like you were talking about, they've got a lot of guys who can do multiple different things. So to wrap the Nuggets up, I think they are a good team. I think they have some inconsistencies that they're going to deal with most of the season. And I think it's just going to be a matter of how cohesive they can be offensively, because Jokic can't go into this whole passive, I'm just going to play point guard as a 7-footer setup that they like to run. That's not going to work if they want to win games. So that's what you need to be looking for.
And Jokic loves to be the guy that just, here, let me stand at the top of the key. I'll hand off to you, and you'll hand off to me, and I'll hand off to you, and one of us will hawk up a terrible three.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that.
He likes that.
That is that when the Denver Nuggets struggle, that is default Nikola Jokic Denver Nuggets basketball.
That's not what we're about.
Yeah, well, apparently it is, Coach. I think one of the more interesting things about this Jazz team is Quin Snyder. And I'm a huge Quin Snyder guy, have been, am today. He needs to play. He needs to figure out what that rotation is. He really does. And I don't mean to belabor that point, but are you still a Quin Snyder guy? Are you still on the Quin Snyder train?
I mean, I think all the people who are hating on Quinn are just misguided. Like, I think that they don't realize that he really didn't have. I mean, honestly, he really didn't have but 7 guys last season. You had your starting 5 plus 2 guys coming off the bench. I mean, everyone was like, "Oh, well, why didn't he make an adjustment?" In the Terrence Mann game was on Quin Snyder, and I just disagree with that. I think that what was so painfully obvious is that that Quin Snyder was left to play that game against the Clippers with one hand tied behind his back. I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, you had the Mike Conley injury. You had Donovan at 50%, I would say, at most. and you don't have a guy on your roster who can fill in for Rudy Gobert when the Clippers go small.
Right.
So you were left with a decision, and that decision was, hey, we're going to die on the hill of Terrence Mann. If he's going to make all those threes, we're fine ending our season like that. And that's what ended up happening, unfortunately. So when I look at Quin Snyder, I don't think he's a bad coach. I actually think he's a damn good coach. I think that his tactics are good. I think his adjustments are good. There are times where the out of bounds stuff is not great, but overall, I think he does a really good job of keeping this team on track and getting them back to where they need to be when they get 2-3 happy.
Yeah, and I think sometimes his angry timeout hand slapping thing pisses people off too. But I think Quinn is in a make or break year. I think this I think this is a critical year for the entire organization.
Yeah,
I really do. All right, let's get some of your thoughts in here. What's going on? James Knight says, "G'day, lads. G'day, mate." Chipotle is overrated. Says, "Good morning, everyone."
so reliable.
Good morning. Well, I'm telling you. And by the way, Maury Alvarez says, "Missed the live show yesterday, but Cafe Rio 10 times better than Chipotle." Ham.
We're sitting here before the show trying to come up with like a third topic because we felt a little light. Why didn't we just go with Chipotle versus Cafe Rio? I mean, that's what everyone wants to talk about very clearly. I mean, why didn't we just go with that and do the whole show on that?
Instead, and this is not a joke, I'm dead serious about this. We're like, well, we feel like we're a topic light. We've got the Pop-Tart lawsuit. That's interesting. Jake hates customer service reps. Okay, that's interesting. And Jake's like, well, why don't we just talk about the worst places to fart? Like that.
I mean, I don't know how I do it.
That's his idea for a topic.
I don't know how I do it. I really don't. I don't know how I do it. I mean, I'm just that good.
I know how you do it. You don't do it. Greg Hawkins says, hello, Greg. How are you? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Eric C says, let's go Jazz. Jeremy Bolton says, sup, brah. Teddy Wayman says, morning, guys. Should be a good game tonight. Really should be. I'm really into the NBA right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm all in.
There's something about it this year. I feel like maybe it's because we don't have to deal with the bubble and like we're still kind of coming off of the COVID-19 really rough season, oddball timing. Because really, if you think about it, the NBA didn't really have an off season, Like when they played the bubble super late into the year, they were playing basketball again like, what was it, 8 weeks after that? I mean,
and just having full buildings, having big moments.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the game is back to what we've missed so much.
And what we all know and love. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what makes, the NHL is pretty intimate with the way the fan experience is, but I feel like the NBA is just on that next level of like, just everybody dialed into the game. And when something big happens, the place just explodes.
Well, because there's a level of separation in the NHL. They wear helmets, there's glass.
Yeah.
In the NBA, there's no separation. They're just wearing shorts and tanks and, you're right on the court. You're right there. You can feel
So when Jokic
the crowd.
got posterized last night,
Yeah, that dunk by Markkanen, that was in Denver.
Incredible.
That was in Denver.
And I want everybody who's watching that highlight needs to understand that was to start the game.
That was the first play of the game.
Possession, dude.
Yeah, Cleveland won the game right there. I mean,
jeez.
But I just am so glad that sports are back. I've missed it so much, and I know that I'm probably, you're just emotional, honey. And you're right. I could be just being emotional, but
I feel like we all are.
Yeah, I'm really glad that big college football atmospheres are back. I'm glad that big games in the NFL are back. It just feels
like all is right with the world.
It feels right again. And this is what I always say about why do we love sports so much? Not to go off onto this tangent, but we love sports so much because it is the tie that binds. I mean, right now I am in the cycle of pain as a sports fan. Which is why the Bulls, who are going to let me down, I guarantee it. It's nice to see that the Bulls are actually winning because the Bears are absolute garbage. Like trash.
Right.
Anthony Rizzo said he doesn't want to go back to the Cubs.
Because it's garbage.
Like,
who would?
Just shoot me. Notre Dame is average. The Bears are awful. Like, I don't have much to hang on to as
Where
a
are we
sports
at
fan.
in society today?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. And you know what? I think that's how a lot of us are. And it is just, to me, it just feels good to have it back.
Yeah.
It
No,
is.
I agree. And I think that, we're in the time of the sports season, and every dude who watches sports a lot knows this feeling when you're like, all right, gotta have the remote at the ready because I've got Monday Night Football here. I've got a great NHL game over here.
But
I've
look
got
at
the
Thursday.
NBA.
Like, I'm excited for Packers Cardinals on Thursday night.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot wait to see J.J. Watt break Aaron Rodgers' face.
Even if Devontae Adams doesn't play because of COVID protocol, that's still going to be a phenomenal game.
Yeah, and I hope that the Packers get blown out. Like, I hate the Packers.
Well,
which is why I can't wait for that game, because I hate the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
And I'm passionate about them losing, sucking, never winning again. And
Aaron fucking Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers never having another happy moment in his life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm passionate about that.
That's every day.
So, it's probably too much. It is what it is. Spencer Morgan says Hassan Whiteside carried the Jazz versus Sac when Rudy was having a terrible night. But was Rudy having a terrible night, or is that a tough game for him to stay in?
I think it's again, I know I'm the guy who started the hate on Rudy Gobert train all those years ago. I know, but
We get it.
But I actually don't think it's hating on Rudy Gobert to say that there are some teams that he just does not match up well against. I don't think that that's unfair or being like Mr. Negative. I think you look at that matchup and it's not. They don't really have, like, Rashawn Holmes is not some 7-foot big. He is a power forward playing center, and he's a young, energetic guy.
And he gave Rudy a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, he dunked on Rudy twice, and the other problem, and this is really the nuts and bolts of the conversation, the penetration that teams are getting on the Jazz lately has been at a really high level. And that's not just a Rudy Gobert problem. Let's be very clear. Like, this is not, hey, Rudy's not doing a good enough job, or Rudy this or Rudy that. This is a team defense issue. This is a, hey, Bogdanovich is getting torched on the perimeter, and then that's going to lead to Rudy playing help defense, which leaves his man open for an easy look. That's the problem. That's what the Jazz are facing. So I don't really know how you counteract that other than to say, all right, the trade deadline needs to be useful for this team. I'm not saying that trading Bogey has to be a priority. I'm saying that you've got to get better perimeter defense. That has to be the priority for this team. Because if that happens, now you're really a tough team to play with. Because if you can play good perimeter defense, or you have a guy that can at least match up with the team's best player, and then that guy can make it hard, and by the time you're making it difficult on that guy, by the time he gets to the rim, Rudy's been there. You're just going to be a really tough defensive team. So right now they aren't that. So that's why I think the trade deadline is so important. That's what I think they need to get, because if they get that, they're instantly going to become much better than they are right now.
All right. Who's the best team in the NBA? NBA.com, ESPN.com, Hoops Hype, and I can't remember the other one, have the Jazz ranked number 1 in their power rankings. Would you agree the Jazz are the best team in the NBA? Because I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't put them number 1 right now.
I mean, I have trouble saying they're number 1, but they're definitely not outside of the top 5. I think my biggest problem is that when I look at how they match up with, like tonight again against the Nuggets, perfect example. The Jazz are gonna have to shoot the hell out of 3 ball to win this game. Like, we need to just own that, and that's who they are, right? I mean, we know that they're good at shooting threes, but Jokic is going to have 35 tonight. I guarantee it. Like, you can just rubber stamp that. He is not about to have 2 games in a row where he gets embarrassed. That's just not happening. Guys like him bounce back in a big way. It's the Utah Jazz. Like, he's going to have a big night. So I just think that what that means is that you're, like, if you're Rudy Gobert, Rudy's not going to have 20 and 20 tonight. Rudy's going to have 12 and hopefully 23 and 24.
But Bowler said the other night that Rudy is in it. If somebody could get a memo to Craig Bowler, Jack, please. We get it. You think the Olympics were really good for Rudy Gobert. Oh, you see it. If Craig Bowler Jack says one more time, oh, he's just so confident coming off of winning that silver medal.
Come on, guy.
Here's the thing. I think the Jazz right now today should probably be ranked number 1. I don't think they're the best team. One, I think their schedule is gift wrapped. I think when you look at their schedule, okay, what was it? OKC, Sacramento, 7 weeks off, and now they play the Denver Nuggets.
7 weeks off.
Like they haven't played. When was that Sacramento game? That Sacramento game was like Friday.
This stretch of games here is their first good test. So I was looking at. You have it up.
Denver, and then they go on the road. Houston, Chicago, Milwaukee.
So on a surface level, you're like, hey, like Houston, they should win. I don't think they're going to beat Houston. I'm just telling you. I don't think they're going to beat Houston. Houston's got a ton of athletic guys. Houston runs their ass off.
You get after it.
And Houston is not going to be afraid of Rudy Gobert. I can tell you that right now. You've got a guy in Jalen Green, I believe? You got a guy in Jalen Green that is happy to dunk on anybody, and that's mainly because he's like 6'7", 6'8". So I just don't think that the Houston game is some gimme. And then the Bulls that is a game that you should win, in my opinion, but that's going to be a tough one, too. That's going to be another
Wait, I'm sorry. I thought you said they should beat the Bulls.
They should beet the Bulls, but again...
It's the Chicago Bulls.
Right,
Are you kidding me right now?
I get it.
Are you kidding me? They're 4-0. The Chicago Bulls are 4-0.
Yeah.
Why would you say such a
That's quite enough. We get it.
Zach LaVine, I think Lonzo Ball is playing some of the best point guard in the NBA right now. And Alex Caruso's the odds-on favorite to be the MVP right now.
4 games in. Just like the Jazz are number 1, Caruso's the MVP favorite.
Here's the thing that worries me about the Rockets in all seriousness. When you look at the guys that play heavy minutes, Kevin Porter Jr. finally looks like he's not a complete fool. Green, Christian Wood. I mean, I look at Gordon. House off the bench. Like they have young, fast talent.
Yeah,
that worries me if I'm the Utah Jazz. I always worry about that. And then the Bulls, frankly, if in all seriousness, if you look at the Bulls and you look at the way DeMar DeRozan's leading that team, he and Zach LaVine are the 1-2s on that team.
Yeah,
and you have a pass-first point guard in Lonzo Ball, who's passing up open layups to throw alley-oops. They're going to be very difficult for the Utah Jazz to handle, especially at United Center.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many people are paying attention right now. The United Center's popping for basketball. It's nice to have, again, as a Bulls fan, the United Center is a great building when it's lit. And for the Chicago Bulls, it's lit. And when you start watching the way that they're playing, their defense is suffocating. Their defense, they're giving up under 100 points a game. I think they're giving up 98 points a game. Their defense is suffocating.
And they have some great big, don't they?
No.
Okay, got it.
I'm not a Vucevic guy.
Right, I know you're not. But he can play, though.
He can. He can shoot. He doesn't have to play inside to beat you.
Yeah, so this stretch of games is going to be difficult. There's no doubt. I think, as a Jazz fan, I wouldn't be surprised if I think you're probably, 2 potential losses here in the next 5 to 7 games, I think, but again, that's pretty good odds, right? If you're winning 5 out of every 7 you play, that's pretty good.
Lonzo Ball is averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds, 5 dimes, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and just 2 turnovers a game.
That's every day.
Through his first 4 games. Like, if they're going to get that out of Lonzo, and by the way, the 3-point percentage,
it's been really good. He's much improved, and this is why I say guys like Rudy, guys like anybody in the league, Ben Simmons, no excuse not to make a shot.
Lonzo Ball shooting 43% from 3. Zach LaVine is shooting 44% from 3.
So obviously that's going to come down, right? Like that's not
Dude.
realistic. Obviously small sample size, but I think that what it goes to show you, the story that the metrics tell us, the numbers, right? What that tells us is that this team likes to get up and down. They play with a lot of pace. They're not scared to play physical defense. And they're going to take the shot. Much like the Jazz, they're going to take the shot. And we talked about this a lot last season, and it's going to be a talking point this season. I'm just telling you now. The Jazz 3-point percentage has to be 38-40% as a team for them to win ball games.
Oh, it's got to be got to be solidly 40% plus.
It's got to be.
Has to be.
It just has to be. And I think, I give Donovan Mitchell a lot of credit. He worked on extending his range in the offseason, and that's paying dividends. I mean, literally any time anytime there's a communication mistake at the top of the key or out, like when he's bringing the ball up and they run a pick and roll and the defense miscommunicates, Don's going to knock that down. So you kind of come to expect that out of Don. But my question is going to be guys like Bogdanovich, guys like Ingles, guys like Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Those guys have to knock those shots down for the Jazz to be successful.
Brood Wars wants to know, aren't you tired of clickbaiting Rudy Gobert as the Jazz Achilles heel in every YouTube video
He is
you
the
post
Jazz
about
Achilles
the
heel.
Jazz?
He is
Well,
the Jazz Achilles heel.
I actually don't even think that's what we've said in this conversation. We've said their perimeter defense makes him work very hard.
But here's the problem. If you, I mean, we can get into that if you want to get into that. He is the Achilles heel of the team. He's getting paid $40 million a year. He's a one-dimensional offensive player.
I shouldn't have read this comment.
And he just is. That's just not like that's just the facts of the case, dude. If he wasn't on this team, they would have gone further last year. That's just the truth of it. Because you would have played better defense as a team. You would have gotten better looks offensively, and you would have done more. That's just the truth of it. But that's fairyland.
Nick Hines says, nice of the NBA to give the Jazz a week off after their 2 games. Man, the Jazz have a nice schedule. They do.
They do.
Eric C. says Trent Forrest for most improved this year. Brian Clegg says, hey, everybody. What's up, Brian? Good to see you. James Knight says Jokic will do a lot of pick and pop tonight. There's no let up for him with the upgrade from Faves to Whiteside. See, now that I think is exactly right.
Yeah. It's a fair take.
James, I think you nailed it there. When you say the upgrade from Favors to Whiteside, that's what it is. That is what it is. The question is, will the 3 ball be going down tonight for Jokic? Because if he's making a 3, he becomes a very difficult guy to guard because of how skilled he is on the pass. So that's something to keep an eye on. Ramiro says, morning, fellas, crush it. Same to you. Jeremy Bolton says, Chipotle is the ass vacuum to Cafe Rio's butt. Thank you. James Knight says, I feel Terrence Mann comment coming. We don't have to go very far to wind you up on Rudy Gobert.
No, you don't. Because here's the thing, and I understand it pisses Jazz fans off, but I just don't think there's any running from it. I think as a Jazz fan, you need to embrace this. Like you would be in a better place offensively, and frankly, as a team, if you didn't have Rudy Gobert on the team, if you had a more mobile big, a guy who could play pick and pop, if you had
well, Rudy's fine if you're the issue's the number. You're paying him $41 million a year. It handicaps you.
Yeah, it prevents you from being complete as a team.
Yeah, it prevents you from having better depth. And that's the single issue. Rudy Gobert at $25 million is great. I mean, he's a really good player. At $41 million, he's overpaid and he has to produce. And he's not a guy that, again, my only complaint with Rudy Gobert is that you can't give him the ball with the game on the line, and he's your highest paid player. And you can't give him the ball with the game on the line. He cannot dribble. He does not shoot.
Well, let's be honest, though. Most of the time in late games, he's not on the floor.
A lot of times he's not on the floor. And I think and I can't remember who said it, but with Hassan Whiteside's quality now, there's a real chance he's not going to be on the floor more often. And I think it's going to be something to watch because, frankly, this system is easily the best system and the most comfortable system that Hassan Whiteside's ever played in.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you're seeing him. He's just got to get more comfortable. He's got to assimilate more into the defense here, and that's just going to take games and reps.
I lose my patience for the Jazz being awkward offensively from time to time when Rudy is on the floor. Because it just happens. It is a natural like thing that takes place in their offense. It's not all the time, but sometimes it does happen. And I think that too often Rudy sets the pick, and then he typically for a big you would just go down to the block. But Rudy doesn't even do that. Rudy finds this space between the paint and the weak side corner where he just kind of hangs out.
Because people are taking the roll away.
Yeah, I know. So
people do not want him to get that lob.
And that's why I'm saying, like, that's why it's not that I think that Rudy Gobert is some god-awful player. He's a 3-time defensive player of the year. The guy is an elite defensive player. There's no doubt about it. We're not talking about the Jazz winning individual awards. We're talking about winning championships, guys. That's what we're talking about.
That's all that matters at this point.
So, like everyone says, oh, well, you love to hate on Rudy. I don't love to hate on anybody. I want them to win a championship, and he's standing in the way. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, Greg Hawkins says, I only recently started getting into basketball, and this discussion really helps me get into the NBA, helps me understand the team. So we appreciate that. Teddy Wayman says, well, if ESPN says they are, they must be number one.
Obviously.
Avi. Luke Magbuana Dudu. Mag
Who the fuck are you?
Banua says Houston, really?
Yes.
Any team that is young, look at the Timberwolves last year. Any team that is young and athletic is going to be difficult for the Jazz to handle. End of story. That's where it stops. Young athletic teams that attack the basket from the perimeter are going to be hard for the Jazz to handle. Brood Wars says your YouTube thumbnail disagrees with what you just said. Okay, so you interpreted it as Rudy Gobert is the Jazz fatal flaw. That's not what we said the Jazz fatal flaw was. So maybe that's on you, Brood Wars, with all due respect. Jazz hold first two opponents to 86 and 101, but defense is bad. Okay, so I don't think there's anybody who watched their first two games who feels like, I mean, hell, when Craig Bolerjack is saying you got to figure out how to keep guys out of the paint,
which he did many times.
Your defense is listen. The Jazz have played two, and let's not forget who their first two opponents are: the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Sacramento Kings, both of whom are going to fight to make the playoffs. Let's be real honest about that. B, they struggled to keep their guards, Oklahoma City and Sacramento's guards, out of the paint. Like De'Aaron Fox, if he could make a layup, the Jazz may have lost that game. But the guy missed like 76 layups in that game. The Jazz weakness, their fatal flaw, is absolutely their inability, especially in the starting five, to keep perimeter players out of the paint. And it led to a lot of Buddy Hield drive and kick threes. It against teams like Denver, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think Michael Porter Jr. last year here at the Delta Center. I miss calling it the Delta Center.
Seriously.
The Vivint is Vivint.
Vivint Smart Home Arena, that's no longer Smart Home Arena.
It can be awkward at times. But anyway, my point is, I think when you look at the Jazz, there's no doubt that Michael Porter Jr. is a tough matchup for them. Tell me who Bojan Bogdanovic guards tonight. I don't know. I think that's why I said Eric Paschall's a really important figure tonight, because they're going to need him to be physical and play defense. I think Aaron Gordon, a guy that shoots the three and gets to the basket, is difficult for the Jazz to handle. And I think when you start putting all of that together with, Will Barton's actually healthy, Monty Morris is actually healthy, like, it's a tough combination for the Jazz. Matchup-wise, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
So are the Jazz a bad defensive team? Absolutely not. Do the Jazz have one major issue defensively, which is their starting five does not move laterally well? Mike Conley, I think, is a good defender. Donovan is learning and a willing defender who's getting better pretty much every game. But you look at Royce O'Neal is no longer, and I don't know that he's ever been, but he's no longer a great defensive player. Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, like, you're just slower offensively or slower defensively, and you're willing to give that up because all of those guys contribute offensively outside of Royce, but all those guys contribute offensively. But to believe that this team's elite defensively is completely wrong. With all due respect, they're not elite defensively.
Yeah.
And their first two opponents, thankfully, were the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Sacramento Kings. But tonight, and I think on this road trip, you're going to see a bunch of athletic teams. Don't forget, you're also going to Milwaukee on this trip. So, you're going to have your hands full is what I'm saying. Utah Jazz fan from India says, LOL, Tyler, so true. So Tyler's point was the Jazz hold their first two opponents to 86 and 101. Is it impressive to hold the Oklahoma City Thunder to 86 points? Well, it is. But is it really like, oh my God, they're locked down defensively? It's the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
Let's not forget they're not very good at all.
Here's the thing. The topics that we're talking about on the show, like, you can make the case that, yeah, sure, they're a great defensive team. They held those two teams to basically under 100 points. Okay, great. That's fine. Like, I don't disagree with that. But At the same time, if you watch the game, you wouldn't be disagreeing with us. You would know exactly what we're talking about. And again, go back. This is the greatness of YouTube. You want to fact check us? Go back. Watch all our videos last year on the Jazz. Find a place where we were wrong about something, because it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not trying to be boisterous about what we're able to do on this show, but we're pretty damn good on the Jazz. And the things that we're telling you will come true. They will. You will tonight see Bojan Bogdanovic get beat one-on-one with somebody going to the basket. It will happen. Then you'll see him go down to the other end and beat that same guy on the block because he's bigger, more physical than that guy. That's how Bojan plays.
But that's the trade-off. I mean, if you look at, I just think there's no scenario where you're better without Rudy Gobert on the floor defensively.
Mm-hmm.
There's no scenario. The problem is he's the perfect example of the trade-off you make to be good defensively, bad offensively. Well, then you flip it with your other four guys, and they're all average defenders that are pretty good offenders. So whether it's Bojan, whether it is
Joe.
I mean, Joe Ingles struggles defensively now, and you're seeing that. He's a role player, and he's still shooting the three at an incredibly high percentage. But defensively, he's not going to have a lot of minutes in some games because he doesn't have a defensive matchup. And I think that's the bigger question. This is a good, not great team right now, but nobody knows who you are, right? Because nobody here, but I don't think anyway, because I know the two of us don't, but they're not going to be this team when we get to March.
Yeah.
When the trade deadline is come and gone, this roster is going to look different.
And that's what I'm excited about. I want to see, like, if we learn nothing this offseason, it is it's that the front office is going to be aggressive. And I think that, we catch a lot of heat for saying that Joe Ingles won't be here once the trade deadline passes, and I truly believe that. And if I'm wrong, I cool. But I just don't think that this roster is going to be the same as it is now, because there's a lot of trade potential built into this roster.
Yeah. Tyler P. says, Jazz can't afford to mess with rotations. They are far better than the majority of teams in the league. Well, I also think I would prioritize health over winning the best record in the NBA, as we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I want Quin Snyder to play 10 guys every night.
And by the way, they're far better than most teams in the league. I don't know that I agree with that. I think last year they were very fortunate that many teams in the league had a ton of injuries, especially in the Western Conference. You look at the Lakers, you look at the Nuggets. I mean, you look at the Warriors. Like, you look at the Clippers. You're talking about a bunch of these contenders who were banged up. And now this year they're healthy. So this year, you're going to get a real good look at who the Jazz can beat and who they can't, based on the way they play the game.
Well, I think that's why the Jazz won the best. The Jazz won the best record in the NBA last year, because they were the best team in the NBA. And I'm not a big fan of talking about injuries, because I just think everybody had injuries last year. There were just too many games. But I mean, it's the only thing that equalizes teams last year was the injuries, right? Because every team had pretty much everybody but Milwaukee had a star that was out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, this Jazz team is good. There's no need to spin it. The Utah Jazz are a good basketball team. They're not, in my opinion, right now today, I don't think they're a top 5 team in the NBA. I don't. I think that I don't know what the Lakers, the Nets, the Clippers, there's so many elite teams that we don't know who they are. And, like, again, I don't know that you know who the Jazz are. You're projecting forward to, like, have this conversation about the best or whoever teams. But what I'm telling you is that this Utah Jazz team, if they make moves at the deadline, they have a legitimate shot to win a championship.
Agreed.
You just have to do what Denver did in Aaron Gordon. You need to go get an athletic wing who can defend and who can attack the basket and finish. That's what this team is so thirsty for. Like, if you had a Zach LaVine on this team, if you had, think of guys that were available last year, the Bradley Beals of the world, the Zach LaVines, you need a dynamic wing player to go with Donovan Mitchell. That's what you need, because this roster, as it's currently constructed, is not championship material. It just isn't. And again, just to make sure that we're all clear, I don't think they win a championship with Rudy Gobert on the roster. I think the contract is just too much.
Yeah.
I think it's too limiting. You can't go with this current roster situation, the salary cap situation. You can't go add a big deal because now you're going to become a repeat offender of the luxury tax. And I just don't think Ryan Smith is going to pay that. I don't think it's smart to pay that. Not at least at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Like you have got to find a wing who can go and attack the basket and play defense. That's what you need. Louis Diaz says, waiting for Jazz and Bulls game. Cannot wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
Yep. Eric C. says, Royce is the team's Achilles heel. Well, right now he is. I think Royce O'Neal is – I don't understand why Jazz fans value Royce O'Neal so much. We tend to wind up on this very conversation a lot. Royce O'Neal is just a guy. He's just a guy. You can plug and play almost anybody into that spot and get the same production. I mean, if I'm the Jazz, why are you not starting Trent Forrest there? I mean, Trent Forrest has gotten so much better defensively. See, everybody wants to talk about Trent Forrest as an offensive player. You want to develop a guy, play Royce O'Neal 15 minutes a night and give Trent Forrest every one of his minutes. That's what I'd be doing, because how much worse can Trent Forrest shoot than Royce O'Neal? I don't think it's physically possible to shoot worse than Royce O'Neal. I truly think if they put you in a Jazz uniform, you'd shoot a higher percentage than Royce O'Neal.
Yeah.
Kid you not.
Based on my Vaza fitness experience.
I agree that Royce has that innate ability in certain situations to get a key rebound, to deflect a key pass, but how many air balls are we going to see Royce O'Neal shoot from three? How many times are we going to watch Royce's guy blow right by him on defense? You want to talk about developing a guy? Play Trent Forrest instead of Royce O'Neal, and then let's go talk about upside potential on somebody. But Quin Snyder would never do that.
No.
And
But again,
I'm not a Royce guy at all.
The trade deadline is super important. That's why I say guys like Royce and Joe and Bogey, like these are all guys who other teams would value, and that's how you have to look at the trade deadline. It almost has nothing to do with like who the Jazz want to trade. It has everything to do with who the Jazz want to acquire and what that price is going to be.
Yep.
That's how you have to look at it.
Because my fear is that you're going to have to trade Bojan Bogdanović to make a significant addition.
Yeah, and that would be a significant loss. I don't know that I don't know that I want this team to trade to trade Bogey. I think that he's extremely valuable because he is capable of giving you 30 a night.
And he's growing a bit as a dribble drive guy. He's still not smooth. There's no doubt about that. But when Royce O'Neal plays bully ball, I don't know.
It's Tuesday.
When Bojan Bogdanović plays bully ball, I mean, they're a better team.
Yeah.
The Jazz have not been a good defensive team since 2018 before they shook up the roster to bring in shooting. I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. They are adequate defensively with Rudy on the floor, Spencer Morgan says. But if they can eliminate or reduce the huge drop-off when Rudy leaves the floor and just be average in non-Rudy minutes, that's going to make a huge difference. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the thing
totally right.
To do that, though, I think, again, this whole conversation around athleticism, because that's the word, athleticism. That, like, they just need more athletes on the roster. You need more guys. It's why Jared Butler is such an exciting acquisition for them out of the draft, because he is an athlete. He can defend his position. He's great, with the ball in his hands, one-on-one. Like, he can do some things.
Yeah.
And I would love to see them, like the Rockets. Like, Jalen Green, he is a freak athlete, right? Like, guys of his ability and his caliber athletically don't just fall off trees. But you can go and find guys to supplement this roster to get Royce out of the starting five or to make any kind of adjustment that you would want to make. But my main point in all of this is just to say that the Jazz inability to keep teams out of the paint is their true Achilles heel. It's just, and that is not an indictment on Rudy Gobert. Yes, I think Rudy has some issues, as I've said, but I think as a team, the Jazz just have to get better defensively. Like overall, all of them together playing team defense, it just has to get better.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I wonder who gets moved. I really do. I wonder who gets moved, and I wonder how that comes together because anybody that's an athletic wing player in this league is going to come at a premium.
Yeah.
You are going to have to give up.
You have to just make that decision. I mean, are you like if you went and tried to get some great wing player, in the team that you're trying to acquire him from is like, hey, we want Bogey and a pick. Are you good with that? That's a tough call.
Yeah, we'll see. Real quick, Tyler P says package Royce and Joe for Harrison Barnes. Well, the Kings aren't going to do that deal.
But see, I think that kind of package for the Jazz is what you're probably looking at. Like you're looking at like some kind of combination like that. But yeah, I would again. This is the other hard part.
Harrison Barnes is playing the best basketball of his career.
Yeah, he was knocking it down against the Jazz.
He's not 30 yet, and he's making $20 million a year. And so he's in high demand. If the Kings trade him, and I'm sure teams will call on the Kings for Harrison Barnes, but boy, that's going to be rough. I like the way you're thinking there.
Didn't Harrison Barnes win a championship with the Warriors, or did he leave before they
Dallas?
Was it Dallas?
Did he win in Dallas?
Okay, now we got to
look it up.
God darn it!
Dadgummit. Now we got to look it up. But yeah, Harrison Barnes was in demand at the deadline last year. Let's see. Harrison Barnes from Ames,
2015.
Iowa, won an NBA championship with the Golden State Warriors.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Harrison Barnes. Do you know what Harrison Barnes' nickname is?
No, I don't. Actually.
The Black Falcon.
Really?
His name is the Black Falcon. That's one of the best nicknames.
That's a pretty legit nickname, dude.
In all of sports.
That's
all right,
fire.
make sure you give us a thumbs up right now on the show, please. Helps the channel grow. Also, if you could hit subscribe. We're giving away this Xbox Series S when we get to 3,000 subscribers. Should be about 2 weeks away at this point, so make sure you get on the train for that. All you have to do is hit subscribe, take a photo that you're subscribed, and then tag us on either Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, The Monty Show, or SLC Supercars. Interesting performance out of the New Orleans Saints last night.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk top 5, bottom 5 teams in the NFL, the National Football League, on the Monty Show.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in the New Orleans Saints?
Not quite. I have my reservations about Jameis Winston. I think that Jameis Winston is a guy who showed he's got a huge arm. I do think he's improved, but I don't think that the Saints are like, some amazing team right now. I think they're a middle-of-the-road team.
Dude, that play last night where, and if you didn't see it, Jameis Winston fumbled the ball. It was sitting on the ground. He picked it up and threw a touchdown pass to Alvin Kamara. Like
that's classic Jameis Winston. That's the kind of thing that happens for him.
But they're really good defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the New Orleans Saints, to me, are that team at 4-2 that they make too many mistakes to win a championship.
Yeah.
But I don't think, if you had to ask me my top 5 teams right now, it would have to be the Bears. Obviously, would be the best team in football.
Of course. I mean, they're obviously the best team in the league, right? Of course.
No, they're not. I think I would have to go. Are the Green Bay Packers one of the top 5 teams in the NFL?
They're a fringe team. Like
Packers or Bengals?
You have to go with the Packers.
Packers or Cowboys?
Cowboys.
Packers or Rams?
Rams.
The best team in the NFL is the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
The second best team in the NFL is the LA Rams. The third best team in the NFL, I think, is probably the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Tampa or Baltimore?
God, that's tough, dude.
I know. But that's my point. So when you're talking about...
So I'm looking at... So ESPN put their power rankings out. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, this list is kind of jacked, right? Okay, we all agree the Cardinals are 7-0. They're the best team in the league right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's just easy. But then I look at who ESPN has number 2, and they have the Bucs number 2 in the league. And I don't know that I'm ready to say that yet. Like, they're top 5, but number 2, not quite sure yet. I look at the other teams that are right around them. You have this group. You've got the Bucs, the Rams, The Packers all at 6-1.
See, I just don't put the Packers. I don't put the Packers as a like being a top 5 team. I think there are teams playing elite football right now today.
The Buffalo Bills are the Green Bay Packers. The Buffalo Bills are 4-2.
Buffalo Bills, their defense is just stifling.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the Bills are better because their defense can travel and win no matter where they play and no matter what conditions they play in.
So look at this grouping of teams, though, because this is where I think it gets really fascinating with the power rankings in the NFL right now.
Power rankings.
Power! So the Packers are at 6-1. The Bills are at 4-2. And then you've got the Cowboys at 5-1. To me, of those 3 teams, I would go Dallas, then the Bills, then the Packers. Because I feel like, the Packers have been a bit inconsistent. Now they lost in week 1 or whatever it was. They've won like 5 in a row now. But there's something about the Packers where I'm like, it's not just that I hate them. It's that I don't feel like they're as good as some of these other
Their
teams.
defense is susceptible.
Yeah.
It's always that's just the way their defense has been. And now with Devontae Adams having COVID,
Yeah.
their defensive coordinator also has COVID. Man, I think I probably overvalue the Dallas Cowboys because I think Ezekiel Elliott's playing incredible football.
Him and Dak. They're playing
Well,
great
I
football.
think that the big question is Dak's injury.
Yeah.
Is he hurt or is this just like he's maintaining this ankle?
I think
foot
it's a
thing?
maintenance thing. That's what I think it is. But we'll see.
If
We'll
that's
see.
if that's the case, I think the Dallas Cowboys, I'd put them 4th.
Yeah.
And I think I'd put the Bengals 5th.
The Bengals, the Ravens, and the Titans are all 5-2. The
The
Titans, to me, are a
Titans, there's
gimmick.
something wrong.
They're a gimmick. It's
Yeah.
Derrick Henry and everybody else. So I kind of cross them off. But the Bengals, what I have trouble with the Bengals is that you're getting spectacular play after spectacular play out of Jamar and Joe. That's my problem.
Well, Joe Mixon's playing good football too, though. He's multifaceted. He's catching the ball and running the ball.
Yeah, but
right?
yes, but at the same time, like I feel like what I love to see out of a great football team, like the Cardinals, for example. The Cardinals are able to beat teams in many different ways, not just with the big play. So, like Kyler Murray is able to deliver the football and make that and get that consistent yardage, so they're constantly ahead of the sticks, right? Whereas I look at the Bengals and I'm like, you've basically got a really young guy quarterback. He's not a rookie. Obviously, this is year 2, but he missed most of year 1. So technically still in his first 16-game window in the NFL. So to me, you're still a rookie, in my opinion, based on game experience. And then you've got Jamar Chase, who makes big play after big play. And I'm like, okay, at some point, a defense is going to take Jamar Chase away.
But they're already putting a man over on him. And
I guess.
The thing is, and I don't look at Joe Burrow as a rookie. I don't. I think Joe Burrow is comfortable, calm. You want to talk about a guy with balls, like this guy
there's no doubt he's got it.
He's a stud. And why is he a stud? Because he's allowing Jamar Chase to outrun the man over.
Yeah.
And then he puts it out in front of him. To me, they're just in sync. And they're also getting a high level of play out of their tight ends.
Do you think the Bengals have staying power? Can they keep
doing
what they're doing?
They got to stay healthy. Joe Mixon's an injury concern. Can you protect Joe Burrow?
God, no. The answer's been no.
I do think they have staying power. Ask me. It's week to week. That's why we do this segment every week. But it's week to week. Right now, I would say the Bengals do have staying power. I just think that if you're going to be an elite NFL team, you have to have one of the best quarterbacks and you have to have one of the best defenses.
So with that in mind, because I love that you say that, where are you at on the Chiefs? Like, where are we at on this team right now?
This is not the same team. The Kansas City Chiefs are not the same team we've known. Patrick Mahomes, it used to be that Patrick Mahomes was a guy you were like, oh, they're going to win because of Patrick Mahomes. And it's not the case anymore.
It's the Patrick price.
You know what? The Patrick price is not as valuable as it used to be. They're not playing good football right now. And a lot of it is, I think, they're probably just tired.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you contend for and play in Super Bowl after Super Bowl and conference championship after conference championship, and it just takes a toll on. Football fucking hurts, man. Like, you get hit in football every single day. Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah.
And That's why you see a lot of veterans that don't practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They practice Friday, walk through Saturday, play on Sunday. That's what the league is becoming. And now that you have 17 games, this is a very difficult league to excel in.
Yeah.
And it's, that's why I say, with these top 5 teams, there's literally 8 teams that could be the top 5 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And the bottom half of the bracket is not that difficult.
No, it's not.
I think the amazing thing is these 2-win teams. Joe Flacco getting traded from the Eagles to the Jets. Good luck. Good luck, Joe. Congratulations. The New York Jets are 1-5. And you got traded
the worst team in the league, though.
from the Eagles to the Jets.
Yeah.
The worst team in football wants you. The worst team in football is the Detroit Lions, there's no doubt. And then I think the Miami Dolphins are the second worst team. Why haven't you made the Deshaun Watson trade?
Don't know, man. I don't know.
You're not going to win big with Tua. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are the third worst team in the NFL.
I feel like that situation's starting to inch its way at a snail's pace, getting better. They're not week over week, just some ridiculous turnaround, but we're not hearing the world burning to the ground controversy.
Because they play defense.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville Jaguars play defense. The problem is that you're young everywhere on offense, and so you're not going to score. They've only scored 127 points, 116 points.
Yeah.
Their defense is fine. Their offense is just garbage.
Yeah.
I think, Houston's probably the fourth worst team. And then I got to think the New York Jets are right there. Those are the 5 worst teams in the NFL.
And it's not close. Because after that, you're looking at the Giants, the
Eagles,
Washington football team, the Eagles, basically that whole division.
But call me crazy. What about the 49ers at 2-4?
I saw a thing on Twitter last night that I thought was, I don't know that I agree with it, but I think it's interesting. So this whole concept of Jimmy G's not getting it done, but Trey Lance isn't ready or is hurt, and they haven't been good outside of the Super Bowl year. And I'm a guy who says, okay, but how are we just going to skip over the fact that they won a Super Bowl, right? In terms of Kyle Shanahan's seat being hot. I think that we have to ask the question of, how long is the leash for Kyle Shanahan? How long does the brass of the 49ers sit here and say, man, we're just kind of mediocre right now. We're not, because that's the worst place to be in sports, right? You're a team that on paper at the beginning of the season was a Super Bowl contender. I remember having those conversations. I remember the media talking about it. This team was a Super Bowl contender before week 1 started. Now they're nothing. You're done. You're 2-4. You would have to greatly turn this thing around. So the question is going around Twitter right now. Are you going to trade Jimmy G? Are you going to make a move? Is Trey Lance actually a viable option in the next 2 seasons to be a full-time NFL starting quarterback? And if none of those take place, how long does Kyle Shanahan have left?
Well, you haven't won a Super Bowl since 1994. Let's get that right. You went to the Super Bowl in 2019 and lost to Kansas City.
But that was a damn good team, though, dude.
That is, but the problem is you haven't been close to that in the last year and a half. And the way they're playing now, the decision to draft Trey Lance is now shaping your success and failure.
Right.
And I think you've not been able to replicate the success that you had through the Jim Harbaugh years. You haven't, now that you have Kyle Shanahan, you haven't really lived up to what you had hoped to be as the San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of that is on Jimmy Garoppolo. You took a gamble and it did not pay off. And whether it's that he's been hurt or he's just been a shitty quarterback, I just don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy that's going to take you to the next level. But here's the bad news. You also went the Trubisky route and drafted a guy that is unproven in college, and he's proving to be not ready by any measure in the NFL.
Yep.
And they're not very good.
So then with all that said, what do you make of this Aaron Rodgers finishing his career there? TB12 has also mentioned that.
Well, Tom Brady's going to retire a Tampa Bay Buck. I don't think there's, or he may go and retire a Patriot. I don't know, but he's not going to San Francisco to play, to be their starting quarterback and win Super Bowls. I just don't see any way that happens.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Hey, real quick before we move on, because we're short on time today. Somebody paid $1 million for Michael Jordan's shoes from his rookie year.
Okay.
Over $1
So
million.
Jordan ones.
Help me understand why people are so excited for memorabilia. I am not a big memorabilia guy. You are looking at the extent, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're looking at the extent of my, memorabilia collection. I'm not paying $1 million for anybody's former shoes.
No.
And I own 100 pairs of Air Jordans and Air Max 90s, and I'm a shoe guy. I ain't paying $1 million for nothing. What is the fascination with autographed merchandise?
I think for some people, they are like, man, like Michael Jordan touched this and signed this, and
you know what releases at 8:00?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there's a big Jordan release today.
But my point just is that I think people fantasize, they storytell. They're like, oh my goodness, like Jordan signed this or Jordan wore this or and that's fine. Like if that's your thing, that's cool. But you're not going to catch me spending $1 million on used, Jordan ones that Jordan wore. I'm just that's just
can't
not
see doing it.
And up that alley, not that it's nearly the same thing because it's not. It's completely different worlds. But to me, in that same light. That's why I've never been a big gambler, like, memorabilia or any of that stuff. Like, it just has never been my thing because at the end of the day, what are you really paying for? Like, with those shoes, they're going to sit on the shelf or in a case.
But this is what my wife said the other day. Like NFTs, non-fungible tangerines.
I just don't understand them. So, to me, it's hard for me to have
I think people get caught up in waves. And I think people get excited about Michael Jordan wore these shoes. I got to have them.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm spending $1 million on, is it an investment?
I guess.
I would think not. Are they going to go up in value?
I don't know, man.
I would think not.
I don't know. I really don't know, but I think that yeah, I mean, I think there are definitely situations where you can flip memorabilia for profit. There's no doubt about that. But I think when you're paying $1 million for a pair of shoes,
money's probably not your biggest problem.
Yeah, well, that's not, for sure that. But then secondly, like I think maybe I'm just a little naive in thinking that you'd be able to up that value and get 1.1, let's say, or whatever.
Okay. All right. Can we talk about the Pop-Tart lawsuit, please?
Yeah.
Because this is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Kellogg's is being sued for $5 million.
Not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
$5 million.
Right.
Over the fact that their strawberry Pop-Tarts aren't strawberry.
This case is empty.
Anita Harris filed a $5 million lawsuit in the Southern District of Illinois, arguing that Kellogg's sales company is misleading consumers by promoting the breakfast pastry Pop-Tarts, giving an impression that the fruit filling contains a greater relative absolute amount of strawberries than it does. In reality, the company's frosted strawberry toaster pastries contain 2% or less of dried strawberries, pears, apples, and red 40, according to its nutritional label. Harris claims the Pop-Tarts, quote, cannot provide a true strawberry taste since it's overwhelmed by significant amounts of pears and apples.
Schemers trying to control their little world.
And I want $5 million because of that. The lawsuit goes on to cite the Illinois Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Business Practices, which says deceptive acts such as false pretense, promises, misrepresentations, or the concealment, suppression, or omission of material fact is unlawful.
Wow.
Now, here's my suggestion.
Wow.
Maybe just don't buy the Pop-Tarts.
You're a douche.
Right? How hard is this? If you don't like the Pop-Tart, don't buy it. Buy the cinnamon one that's better anyway, right? I am amazed by this. I don't understand why people want to sue for $5 million over strawberry Pop-Tarts.
But it's not just this lady. And hi, I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, Mrs. Monty.
Hello.
But it's not just the person who filed it. It's a class action.
Right, it's a bunch of people.
Yeah. And my first reaction was exactly the same. Like, what do you think you were going to get? It's a Pop-Tart.
It's not, you're really buying this because it's your fruit content. They needed strawberries and fiber and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think they were doing it for health reasons, but I do think that when it comes down to it, you said it was strawberry and it's less than 2%
Yeah.
of strawberry. So I don't think you can really call it strawberry. I don't know.
Stop.
But really,
Stop it. Are you being serious?
I,
It's a Pop-Tart.
This is a dessert item that's repackaged
No,
for
Jake.
breakfast.
It's junk food.
It's breakfast. Please,
No.
it's the breakfast of champions.
it is the junk food
I
of
never
breakfast.
got into Pop-Tarts. I've
By
had
the
a
way,
few in my life, but I
You
never got into
never
them.
got into
I
Pop-Tarts?
never really got into them, no.
Oh my God. When I was a kid, I'm fat. Okay, let's just be honest. When I was a kid, my mom would buy us the Jewel grocery store brand Pop-Tarts.
Fat.
Oh my God. I like Chubbs McGahee, bro. Like there's gotta be Pop-Tart flavors. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
like
a
double
gazillion of 'em.
chocolate. The double chocolate with like the chocolate icing on it and the chocolate filling.
and
and the
I didn't-
chocolate crust?
I got cold ass cereal every day, so
Right, because your mom doesn't love you.
okay.
But
well,
when
know.
you look at like they even make a Mr. E flavor Pop-Tart. I don't know what that is. But banana cream pie Pop-Tarts sound amazing.
They sound like flavoring.
Yeah.
Right, but I like banana cream and I'm fat. So I
They
want
are
to
the
eat them.
junk food of breakfast.
Okay, wait. Here's
Puke.
yeah, no, it doesn't make me want to puke. But here's the one that everybody likes. Pumpkin spice Pop-Tarts. Sold out.
Bandwagon.
Right? But
Pretty
no,
much.
seriously. So the best are the frosted brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts. It ain't even close. It is not even close.
I don't claim to be an expert on this. I don't. Like I don't
Yeah.
Am I the only one that likes Pop-Tarts?
I don't know. Like I can't say that I've
I
had
was
a lot
never
of them in my
like a
life.
big Pop-Tart. Like, they're okay. I think we got some when we were kids.
Oh my God, you're
They're
crazy.
just not good for you. Like, this is junk food, and you shouldn't be feeding.
Right, but we're not. That's why we eat Doritos. Well, we don't eat Doritos.
Because it's
but
Right.
garbage.
it's why we eat chips. They're not good for you, but they taste good.
Yeah.
That's why we're not eating chips.
Why do
I
we?
really
why-
don't care if you think it's sus.
It is sus. Totally sus. Why do we eat Oreo cookies? Because they're
we
not
shouldn't
good for
be
you.
eating Oreo
But I
cookies.
don't. We haven't had Oreos in like 2 months. And we've lost
you
a bunch of
don't eat
weight.
Oreos because they're good for you. You eat them because they taste good.
And that's why you eat Pop-Tarts,
Yeah.
jerk.
But the people in this lawsuit are trying to sit here and say that they're not getting their fruit content for the day.
Toasted s'mores flavor Pop-Tarts,
Like-
Giggity says.
Like these people.
Eric C's sister says s'mores Pop-Tarts. What do you know? All of a sudden, s'mores Pop-Tarts are Jake's favorite flavor. Eric C's wife has a YouTube account now?
Really?
I
Uh-oh.
thought I saw a thing there.
Eric's sister.
Is that Eric's sister now? Or okay. Giggity says, "Bro, toasted fruit Pop-Tarts with some butter on the top was my go-to."
and we wonder
By the
why
way-
we have diabetes in this country.
No, we have diabetes because do you know how easy it is to eat 500 calories of peanut butter?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I want it.
Do you know how easy it is to eat 1,000 calories worth of peanut butter on a PB&J?
Easy.
But and admittedly, one of the things that's really helped me lose weight is not eating peanut butter.
Right.
It's made a huge difference. Like now working out 7 days a week and eating really well and counting calories helps too. Being in a calorie deficit, etc. It's so easy to eat like way more calories than you realize.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Girlfriend. Eric
so-
C's girlfriend has. Okay.
So let
You
me.
have a girlfriend?
We have 6 minutes left, and really we have 5 minutes left. But,
We do,
But
yes.
let me propose this question. So, is it bad that in my apartment, my fridge is basically like empty? I've got like a bag of chicken, a bag of rice, and vegetables in the fridge. I've got protein in the cupboard and oatmeal on the counter.
That's about a
Is that
single
bad?
guy's kitchen.
Like,
James Jensen says, "I eat what I want. I just don't pig out."
well,
that's
in
okay.
moderation is important.
Hey, 3,000 calories or less is my number.
Yeah, I mean,
Is what it is. I think you probably need to diversify a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's not a
You
question.
know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have Rockstar in your fridge, too.
Monster. Yeah.
Monster. Oh, that's right. You're a Monster guy.
Yeah, Monster.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah.
You're single. Like, it's not like you have to have a diversity of stuff. And you
Yeah.
don't like cereal.
No, I'm not a big cereal guy.
So,
Well,
but
Fruity Pebbles are different. But
I just got you eating oatmeal like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I
this
should probably get
started.
rice cakes.
Rice cakes, please.
Cakes.
As our guy, Mark Asher in Phoenix would say, rice cakes.
Yeah.
So
Okay, last topic, really quick. Got to blaze through it. Least favorite place to call in for customer service.
AT&T Wireless. It's not even close. I hate it. I'm telling you, I am an AT&T guy. I love DirecTV.
Oh.
DirecTV, if you're going to buy TV, DirecTV is the only thing to do. But I'm telling you right now, AT&T is I truly believe if you walk into the president of the board of AT&T, it's going to be Satan. The guy will have horns and a tail, and he'll strike you down. Like,
Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. I hate AT&T as a company.
AT&T Wireless.
It's tragic. That whole By the way, somebody said we said too many F-bombs yesterday.
Well,
so they turned it off.
Is what it is, man.
It is. Wait.
Did they count? Did they count?
there a
Was there a
ledger?
threshold? Like, can you say 5 but not 10?
Yeah, he said it was a YouTube comment that said, "I love your show, but too many F-bombs." Bye. I was like, okay, good luck.
It is what it is, man. Like, we've been over this.
Giggity says AT&T was terrible when they took over DirecTV. Is when I dropped DirecTV. Oh, DirecTV is amazing. But yeah, I hate AT&T.
Yeah.
Why? What, so you had a DirecTV issue yesterday.
So, last night I was like, man, I just want to watch some hockey. I just want to. And I don't have NHL Center Ice, and it's only like $10 a month. It's not expensive.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's call DirecTV and see if I can't get this hooked up. So I call them, and because we're in pandemic times, of course, customer service isn't open. So I get Lydia, the rando, on the phone working out of her basement, and the dog's barking in the background. And she's like, yeah. So apparently my account was apparently past due. I'm guessing this had to do with because my changed debit cards and all that.
I did not auto pay that.
I do auto pay it. That's the problem.
Okay.
They don't send me paper billing, so I have no idea that my thing was past due. So
You check your email?
They don't send me emails. They don't. I did check my email
They
last night.
either have to send you a paper bill or they have to send you an email.
Whatever. Maybe I don't check my mail enough.
Maybe.
But it
Oh.
is what it is, dude. It is what it is. The facts of the matter are, I never got an account number, never got a password for my account, had no way to access my account because I signed up online or I signed up over the phone. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm not past due anymore. I paid the bill. It's fine. The point is that I hate calling DirecTV because you wind up getting the runaround. So I get off the phone because they can't help me, and there's a chat bot on DirecTV's website. So I'm like, all right, last ditch effort, I'll chat bot these people. And they actually wound up being super helpful.
Yeah, they connect you to somebody. By the way, we don't have time to talk about paying somebody to hang your Christmas lights.
You should.
The best company,
worth the pain.
The best company to call for customer service, by far, hands down, not even a question.
Yeah.
American Express.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Easy. Them and Apple, you can text with Apple. It's amazing.
Yeah.
By far, if you are not an American Express customer, you should become an American Express customer. And Jake, you should play the music. Because we have a shoe auction to lose right now.
Yeah.
And then we have to go to the Elpa Tour because it's LWAM, the last week of the month.
Yep. Last week of the month.
You going to get a deal today?
Yeah, couple.
I agree. I will too. Back tomorrow, Wednesday on the show, we'll have full reaction to the Jazz and the Denver Nuggets tonight.
The Nuggies.
Who do you got, Nuggies or Jazzies?
Jazz.
I'm taking the Jazz to win tonight too. So we'll talk about that. We'll get you ready for Bronco Mendenhall. Why is the relationship between Bronco and BYU fractured? We'll talk about all that tomorrow. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.